Hello and welcome everybody. This is a guide for my Incinerate cast while channeling Detonate Dead build, which I was able to kill Shaper with. This is the guide that I also have on the forum, and since I got a tip from a good friend, I figured I should put some gameplay first, as he said, so you guys can see me killing some stuff while I am introducing you to the build guide. The main intention of the build is that I want to be able to clear every content in the game. So it's kind of a hybrid between a mapper and a bosser. Its mapping qualities is probably a bit better than its bossing qualities, but then again it's a channeling build, so it's not as fast as some other builds could be. I was able to clear, this is for example like a Lich with it in the tier 14 map. I was able to clear Guardians with it, I was able to clear Shaper with it, I did Uber Izaro, I did regular Aziris, no Uber Aziris though, I did Red Elder with it, in one really frustrating session, even tier 14 Red Elder. Tier 11 was pretty doable, tier 14 was quite a pain because I suck at the mechanics probably mostly. So yeah, and here in the very end you can see the Shaper kill as well that has been done with this on like the 13th of July 2018. So this is viable for the actual momentary state of the game with the reworked Incinerate and Detonate Dead / Detonate Dead. So I hope you guys enjoy the guide and yeah, check it out. So for the first part, if you are trying to build this build, you should start with the tree, I thought. So we are going right into it. I started out on Scion. Scion for me the best choice for the thing, why I will explain you later. We are going for the life regeneration at the beginning, picking up Shaper. Since it's easier to level, you probably pick up Constitution. Then you go on level with Frostbolt and Flame Totem, later probably Frostbolt. Dropped for Firestorm or Firestorm Totem or whatever you feel like. Just can level this on pretty much every skill, spell-based skill that you want. Probably pretty early you want to pick up Elemental Overload because you're not playing crit. You will go for as much life and later mana as you can. Picking up life all the way, picking up sockets when you can, you pick up more life and then you go into some elemental damage here and there. Probably will need it at that point latest. If you feel like you need it earlier, you can maybe bridge that, even though I feel like it's unnecessary. Then you want to get Retribution here and you start picking up a shit ton of AoE. I don't think we need that note. So this should be like the first arc you're going for, I'd say. Then next up, if you feel like you're lacking damage, you can do this right away and later regret it or something. I had it for a while, wasn't too bad. Then you go in this direction, you pick up more life here. Further here you pick up more area. And at that point you can latest probably play already with Incinerate and be faster than with Firestorm already, because it's actually not a bad skill right now, it's pretty good. You're picking up these sockets where you can, and then you go into a lot of damage. It's not only the one arc, no, you're picking up both, because part of our damage is natural flame fire damage, the other part is actually ignite damage. I had burning damage in between, was not necessarily better, so I opted out of it again. If you're lacking damage in between, you could do this here earlier as well. I decided after some consideration, not going for the elemental but twice the fire, and then I went this way. So that's like the first session. This is about like level 50, level 55-ish or so of the tree, and you are at this point at around 52% area, 50% area damage, 60 flat life, 120 life percentage. Then you probably want to fill up your life percentage to be a bit higher. If you fill up the Scion life wheel, you're on 150, and that is like level 60-ish of a tree now, 61, and you are already able to go mapping with this practically from the life value and damage values. You can easily play this with fire AoE spells of your choice. In my opinion, Incinerate is already good enough here. Then once you go further into the mapping, you want to pick up more sockets, and as you do, you want to care for secondary survivability, since your secondary defenses are quite low with the build gear that you will later see that you need. So you are going for mana regeneration here, pick up the mana, and then opt out of the life regeneration again, pick up the area of effect damage here, not though the 2 additional nodes for area, just the damage. For now at least. I'm considering picking these up on the road to 100, but right now you don't need it. You need more sockets if you can, and you definitely want to do your 3 ascendancies at least. It would be even better if you, at this point, you're like level 66, probably a bit early to do Uber. So it's just level on until we're able to do Uber. We would pick up this mana, and then we would go Mind Over Matter. And then we would also go for this mana. And then you are what, like level 75? Probably Uber Lab ready with this, like this. That's your tree for being Uber Lab ready on that Scion build. In that point you go for latest choice, all the 4 ascendancies. Probably you would have had some of the ascendancies before already. You pick up Witch Elementalist, and you will pick up Shadow Saboteur. Now you ask yourself, why Saboteur? You're not using traps or anything. No, we are using the damage penetration from it, we're using the increased area, and we're also getting 25% chance to blind on hit. And Incinerate is a hitting skill, so this is quite nice at the end. This will also make us immune to Elemental Reflect, and we'll have more Herald effect, and can summon up to 1 additional golem at a time, so that's quite decent as well. Now, when you are here and you're able to go Uber, you go Path of the Shadow. I'm just like showing it right now so that it looks at it as if you don't need to reset a lot. Like for me, I in the meantime I always fixed up some things here and there. I couldn't tell you, probably I used about 25 Orb of Regret in the end or so for the entire build, but I cannot tell you right now how much it exactly was. Once you have the Uber Ascendancy, you go for damage and energy shield, pick up elemental damage here, more elemental damage on the trickery. Go for Blood Siphon, go for the Soul Siphon, and later, like this for example, note that I'm right now not having, you could consider that once you're going for 100, you'll probably need it. And then you go over the elemental side of this, pick up the spell damage here, get more life and resist and the secondary defense evasion here, and this life. And this especially gives you 6% instead of 5 because of that I at some point got this and got rid of that. But it doesn't really matter, it's really like small parts. If you would go for 100, then you'd probably pick up that socket. I myself don't have it right now. I think this is my state, yeah, this is my level 91 tree, my exact level 91 tree. And that arc here gives you a bit more damage as well towards the end game and good survivability. So that's nearly like the perfect tree for this scenario. If you would want to go 100, you'd probably pick up these sockets here additionally, and might want to consider, as I said, the 2 area nodes that you left out here, and then probably the rest you would invest 3 more points we have that you get for that, either some cast speed here, or you like there's some nifty little things that you could find on your way, I guess, but nothing too necessary. Probably I'd get this again. That would be my 100 tree. So check this out in detail. I hope this was helpful, and off to the next part of the guide. In terms of Pantheon, you want to go for Soul of Lunaris and you want to upgrade that as well. Probably I could have upgraded it even a bit more, or probably will do at a later point. The most important though is chance to avoid projectiles, since in this league the Temple Guardians which are using projectiles are super dangerous, and you want to try and avoid that. The secondary defenses are not very high. They are at like a very low physical damage reduction of 9% and a very low chance to evade of 25%. You don't have like a lot of secondary defenses, so it is super good if you are able to get yourself some additional physical damage reduction. In this case, especially then when you are surrounded by some enemies, so I went with Soul of Lunaris. Also, Soul of Gruthkul will help you a lot. That's another additional 5% physical damage reduction. if you take a lot of hits, so that's another failsafe for getting surrounded. And if enemies hit you recently, they get reduced attack speed. So as you can see, these two are pretty much, you charged into something bad while you were mapping, get hit by a lot of things at the same time, they will help you a lot. That's for the Pantheon. As it always is, of course, if you are bossing or doing bosses, you could swap for that very encounter. Pantheons are variable, you don't have to decide for one Pantheon all over. As for the items, there is probably no better item right now for the Helm Socket in many builds as there is Devoto's Devotion. In this case it's the same, you need the dexterity for your skill progression anyways, you need the chaos resistance in the momentary leak, you'll need the movement speed because it's awesome when you're clearing faster as well as the attack speed, and then you just enchant that thing, which also gives you a good armor and evasion chunk. So Devoto's Devotion enchanted with Detonate Dead has a chance of 45% to detonate an additional corpse, and that enchant on this helmet is really crucial for this build. Then you'll have Doriani's Catalyst. You can use this or you can use a Scepter from the Temple with a Temple enchant that will give you additional fire damage and fire added to spells in one mod. I have been using a Doriani's for endgame though because of the 0.2 Elemental Leech, which really helps you survive the high tier endgame content. Then I'm using a Horror-Span Arcane Kite Shield. That's a self-crafted thing. I slammed, I think, life essences or something on kite shields with a decent initial all-res, waited to hit all-res and elemental damage basically or something. Or I'm not sure anymore. It's not too hard to get these. Crafting cost is maybe like 30 to 50 Chaos Orb, and you'll have something like this or something similar. Doesn't have to be as good as mine here. I was just lucky hitting a pretty high elemental damage tier roll and a high life roll together with my double all-res. So it's just a really good shield. Then you can use these gloves or something similar. I have another pair of gloves linked in the forum guide as well that I was using before. This is just the upgraded version. They don't have to be all white socketed, it's just more of a meme. These gloves you can get pretty cheaply. Added fire damage against burning enemies. The thing is, you won't get them cheaply if they have also intelligence, life, and dual res on it. So I paid a total of I think 100 chaos for it to get it like that, with the all white corruption as well, because I liked it and I could afford it. You can probably go with something less fancy. The main thing is they need to have the modification added fire damage against burning enemies, because that's one of the new temple mods and that's essential for this build. Then you'll also have another temple enchant boots. In this case these are movement speed enchanted as well, so we're having a total of 30 movement speed plus another 10% if we haven't been hit recently, which is nice. Then we get some life and some stat fix, some bit more of dexterity which you will need, and just some intelligence which you probably don't need but it's useful anyways. And then I have a chance to dodge attack hits. It's only 11%, it could be 12, but I'm okay with the 11. And we have some cold rest, some rest fix in there as well. The belt is mainly your slot for fixing the rest that is worst. I got me a belt that gives me also quite a decent increased blast charges gained and some secondary defenses, so more armor. So this was a nice belt for the build. Nothing much to say about it. For the rings, I have dual crafted opal rings. I was pretty lucky crafting these. I did it on stream, I think. I had used 6 or 7 essences in like half an hour, and for each of the rings or something like that, and we went up and having like 270 chaos to 3 exalt pieces of rings, depending on how you value these. I have crafted them with elemental damage, fire damage, life, and a double res here. Elemental damage, fire damage, dexterity, life, and mana, and a res here, which is just awesome. And then crafted some mana or some ES here. The ES doesn't do much, but still we are having 900, so I thought why not. And then on the turquoise amulet, this is one that I just got for the final part of the game. I mainly got it for the quantity. You don't need it, it's optional. It would have been okay if it's just like a regular shit amulet. I got it for the quantity because I felt like the drops are getting a bit better with that. And then for the main body armor, we're having a 6-link carcass jack. The probably even better solution to this is a lore weave. Lore weave is way more expensive though, and I wanted to keep the build in, I say, like 10 exaltish area. So we're definitely not going over 10 exalted with using the carcass jack. The carcass jack as a 6-link at the moment is probably a 4 or 5 exalted in softcore. These rings are probably each 1, so it'd be like 6, 7. These are another 100k, so 1.5, like 8.5. And then Doriani's and the good shields and enchants, you end up on around 10 exalted for the entire build, including your flask, from which the most expensive one was this one for like 40 chaos, I think. This one is pretty neat from the point onward where you are using Mind Over Matter. This is an addition that I made really shortly in before I finished Shaper and finished the build. Really good. This helps you a lot. You are not using mana while you're casting, as you can see on the bottom there. So technically you're not needing that unless you get big hits, and then it's really good. And it's like a secondary life flask. Then you have the Wise Orc, because it's just obvious you get even more penetration. Right now on my Incinerate, we are having, let me see, is that the entire Incinerate? We're having, where's penetration? Is it on the Detonate Dead? Oh, offense. Sure. Offense, Incinerate. You can see we're having Ignite damage per second, fire resistance penetration 27%. If I'm pressing the Wise Orc, we're going up to 41. So that's just obviously really good. You get 41% fire penetration is really, really good, especially for bossing. And then for the flask, Osiris Promise just adds like a little bit more of extra chaos damage, and then you'll also get chaos damage leeches life. So this together with the Vodos helps you even leech more life back. Even though leech is not a core mechanic, it just helps a bit to tip off the rest. You need 1 bleeding removal, 1 freeze removal flask. In this case I'm going with 1 seizing divine life flask of staunching for my life regeneration and bleed removal, and practically all the time pressed Quicksilver flask to move faster around and get some freeze removal. That's it. That's the entire gear. As for the skill setups, you would probably start with the most important, and you would think that's the 6-link, but it's not. Most important, it's Desecrate, Spell Cascade, Faster Casting. That's your bread and butter, what you'll be using all the entire game long, because whenever you want to blow up a pack real fast, this is way better than waiting for something to die that then can explode. Having corpses at your disposal at all times is just really important. I have it on my W, it's Desecrate, Spell Cascade, Faster Casting, it's really good. And for your 6-link, your core 6-link, you get Incinerate, Detonate Dead, Cast While Channeling, Immolate, Controlled Distraction, and Combustion. I got Combustion on 20% quality, I'm not sure if that's needed, I just have it for some reason. And Detonate Dead as well as Incinerate, I got 20/20 as well. It is really good, like it works. The good thing about the build is that you have multiple sources of damage. One thing is your Incinerate itself does a lot of damage, then depending on how much stacks you have it does more damage, and you leave it alone it does 500% more damage. Then while this happens here all the time, corpses are exploding that also do damage, and the AoE of them is ridiculously high as well. It's just a really good setup. So that. Then you'll have Summon Lightning Golem, Herald of Ash, Culling Strike, and Minion Life Support. The Herald cannot cull, but your Golem can, and since we're having 2 Golem, oftentimes, especially against bosses, this is quite useful. They can help you clear map bosses even faster, they can help you clear like big bosses with a huge HP pool. I just like to have them have culling. You probably don't need it though. You could, for example, go with the Flame Golem and additional projectiles as well. That's more of a playstyle choice in the end. I like the Lightning Golem because it enables us to have even faster cast speed. So you can see, double Lightning Golem, all of a sudden we're blowing up that stuff way faster. Then you have Orb of Storms, Flammability, Arcane Surge, Curse on hit. You only level the Arcane Surge to level 6. That entire gem setup will then always trigger the Arcane Surge because it's costing 29 mana. Level 6 means you'll have to spend 26 with the skill. So level 6 Arcane Surge, you'll always have Arcane Surge up, and whatever is in that circle will always be cursed. Especially good for bossing, but also just very nice for your survivability, because the mana regen that you additionally get from Arcane Surge helps with your Mind Over Matter. Then you'll have Immortal Call, cast when damage taken, Vortex. That's like a fan favorite of mine. I'm running cast when damage taken, Immortal Call level 1, since we're not using any endurance charges, it can pop as often as it wants. And the Vortex on level 4, so it's just able to trigger it. I like it because if you get hit by a big chunk of your life, then you spam that Vortex and that can slow down stuff right around you, and then you can quickly charge away. I'm a fan of it. It's partially your choice though. If you want to go a bit more aggressive, you could possibly put another Desecrate right on there to ensure you get more corpses or whatever, or you just put your Golem there and have some more sockets. It's like tinkering to your own style. And then in the end I'm using Shield Charge, faster attacks, Fortify, and Blood Magic, because I really enjoy Shield Charge for clearing faster, and in this build it's also really good because you have a pretty huge AoE. If you would want to, you could also drop the Blood Magic for culling, for example, in your Shield Charge, because you would tend to cull a lot with this and you don't really need the Blood Magic. If I put the Blood Magic away, as you can see, we're having such a good mana rate at the moment that it doesn't actually matter at all. I just have it in there because I always have, I'm like kind of paranoid if we get hit by something that gets our mana to 0 and I'm not in that moment then able to jump away, that would piss me off. So that's kind of, as long as I have life, I want to be able to charge. That's my paranoid failsafe. Yeah, and that's it for the skill setup. As for jewels, right now we're using in the belt this one Whispering Leer Hypnotic Eye Jewel. It gives us 9-13 fire damage to spells and 43 maximum life, as well as 2% of physical damage as extra fire damage if you dealt a critical strike recently. I don't know if the third stat does anything for us, probably not. More about the life and the fire damage to spells, which is the most important part here. In the tree I can show you as well, I have a Crimson Jewel here that gives us some life and armor. The other stats are pointless for our build, but the most important thing was I wanted one that has cannot be cursed with silence. And here we have it. So that was really important for me, because getting cursed with silence after opening a box can fuck you over on this build. I died a couple of times in an endgame tier mapping. I really enjoy having immunity to being cursed with silence. Then we have Blight Vessel Cobalt Jewel with 5% increased maximum life, 12% increased area damage. Area damage is something where every mechanic in the build profits from, so it's really good. And a double rest here to fix some resists. Then we are having, let me see, this is another one for 17 to 21 fire damage to spells, some flat life, and some lightning damage to spells while holding a shield. It's just like fire damage to spells and life. The other stuff is unimportant again. Then we have fire damage to spells and life, and fire damage to spells while holding a shield. It's another one of these. And here we have increased attack speed while holding a shield, life, increased ignite duration, and chance to ignite. This is probably a bad jewel. I could probably switch that out even. I didn't even care for it though. Like it's important that you have good jewels on this build, and you could probably boost some numbers if you would swap some of these out for even better ones. I did not yet invest the time and money to do so. But that's how I got by, and that's how I killed Shaper with the build as well. So only one more thing to say, and that is have fun with the build. I hope you enjoy it. You can run shit like this with it. You can basically run whatever you want with it, but for example, quantity 120%, tier 15 maps with a heck ton of modifications to boss and monsters, and you wouldn't even care for it. It does have very little limitations on which map you can run, and that is why I also went for completion, now being on 157 out of 158. The only thing missing is Horrendous Manor, because it's so fucking expensive and I was too lazy to grind up to that yet, or to search for a group that would share it. but I'll probably do that and then have like a full completion did on this build. This was Nogrul. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoy this build guide. Madness! Explosions! A lot! Whoa! Malachi is angry, man.